Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine, heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of His Spirit, washed in His blood. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, perfect delight, visions of rapture now burst on my sight. Angels descending, bring from above echoes of mercy, whispers of love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, all is at rest. I am my Savior, I'm happy and blessed, watching and waiting, looking above, filled with His goodness, lost in His love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long.
Good evening, church. It's a pleasure to be with you for this week's Fireside Chat. We have one more interview because we are in stewardship season and we've been talking to you all and to folks about what giving means to them, what things do they love about Buda, how has giving formed them. And I'm really, really excited about this last interview with Mike and Tricia Schneider. They just have wonderful spirits and wonderful insights into giving, and so I hope you enjoy the conversation that we had. Next week we'll resume with some devotional material on Wednesdays, but this is our last stewardship interview, and I would encourage you, if you have not had an opportunity to fill out a pledge card or you need a pledge card, please do not hesitate to reach out to the church. But we're aiming to try to get all those pledge cards in by the end of November, so that way we can plan and look forward to the future accordingly with what we have, and we will be good stewards of the gifts that have been given, the gifts that have been multiplied, and we'll see what God does with those gifts in the coming year. But with that, I would just like to introduce Mike and Tricia Schneider to you, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. Have a good week.
When we moved here, we were looking for a church home, and we went to several places. They weren't all Methodist churches. We went around to some different places, and we stumbled on Buda United Methodist. And I think the thing that caught me first about it was the chapel. I love the chapel, and I'm not alone in that. There are a lot of people who really love the chapel, and had a preacher here that I really liked and we really liked, and so that was our initial attraction. It just felt comfortable, being here. Yeah. The people were very nice, very much like a small town that I came from. So that was my initial attraction here.
Yeah, I think the vibrancy of the church and all of the this particular congregation, there were always have been different ways to get involved and or not get involved. You can kind of pick and choose what works for you and what your interests are and I also, I guess less so for Mike, but for me, the United Methodist Church was something I really wanted to stay connected to because I was baptized and raised in the United Methodist Church, and so that was always my draw.
You're a lifer.
Yes, literally from the beginning. My age and the United Methodist Church's age we run parallel. Hint, hint. So we got married in the United Methodist Church, and so I have always felt at home in the United Methodist Church, and appreciate the style of worship and just the connectionalism and being, even though Buda isn't our hometown from where we were born and raised as kids and young adults. For me, the United Methodist Church gave me that connection to home, no matter where I was. So for me, I really was grateful that we landed here for those reasons too.
The men's group has been a rock, really.
I was shocked how many men were at the first men's breakfast.
A lot.
Yeah.
I know.
Where did all these men come from?
Yeah.
Down through the years, there's a core group there. It's been 17 or 18 guys, down through the years, and that was an attraction for me earlier on, and so that was part of the vibrancy of the church. And some of the projects that we've done really brought people together, people that never held a hammer. Got to help build a house, and selling pumpkins and baked potatoes and things like that. So the men's group has been a vibrant part of this church for a long time. It was an attraction.
And it's not so much like looking backwards at what maybe I don't want to put it in a context of how things used to be and that they're not today. We've been here long enough that we've seen the church evolve and change. And I'm not talking about the greater big church. I'm talking about Buda United Methodist Church. With the different missions and ministries that we've had, we've adapted. We've tried new things. We've experimented to see, does this work? Does this not work? And what can we learn from these things? And so I like that we're not the same church today that we used to be. Glad to have a new minister. It's never easy to say goodbye, but I love being able to welcome and to love each and every one of our pastors as you come in. And so I think that, to me, that's part of the vibrancy is just that hopefulness, that let's look forward and see how else we can serve the community, how else we can serve the church, and how else we can be there for God. It's great to recognize and appreciate the past, and to, I don't want to say but and it's an and thing, and
Both and.
Yeah, both and, to look forward. Yeah. So because the past is part of who we are, and the future is who we are.
Right.
For me, I think it started as a child with my parents and in my family and my grandparents, in simple ways like volunteering and being part of different projects, collecting my coins and quarters and things like that for different holidays and such. And so it started for me just general giving in that sense at an early age. And then I would say that my spiritual giving, or my giving in a spiritual context, really took hold here at Buda United Methodist through the I guess the examples, through the leadership, through the cultivation and almost the stewardship of me and my spiritual being, to help me mature and understand, from a godly way, what it meant to give financial gifts and gifts of prayer and presence and witness and upholding the church through those vows. I've always took that to. I've always reminded myself of those ways that that I can grow closer to God through that type of spiritual activity. And so, yeah, so here is where my spiritual giving really took hold, to really understand what it meant that that whether you're talking about things or money, that they were never really mine to begin with. And so, rather than holding on to something that it was a misplaced, I don't know, it misplaced, like, for me to try to hold on to something. And when we started giving, increasing our financial gifts to the church, it was for me a very life-changing process, I guess. It didn't happen overnight, but for me it was very, very life-changing in a spiritual way.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. What about you, Mike?
Much like what Tricia said, you know, I grew up in the Lutheran church. We were
I'm very sorry.
members of the party.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
You know, coming from the Lutheran church to the Methodist church, we did that in probably in the early 70s, maybe. But I thought they were very similar in just the service and things. It just seemed to me like it wasn't that much different. We recited a lot of the same things, and so it just did not seem that different to me. And of course, I was 10 years old or 11 years old, something like that. And and one of my best friends, and he's got cancer right now. And so this guy that I knew for so long was one of the main reasons. Their family was one of the main reasons that we went to the Methodist church. And so, anyway, he was glad to be able to be there with them. He was a good friend of mine, and is a good friend of mine. He's still with us. He's fighting cancer every day.
Still a Methodist?
Yes, he is. So his father actually became a Methodist minister after he retired from the school system, and he actually served in our wedding.
Wow.
He said a few words in our wedding. So anyway, I digress. The giving thing was something that we just did. Mom and Dad would give us each some money every week to put in the plate, and we got into the habit of doing that. And passing the plate, passing the plate is an important thing that I think we all overlook. People just, you know, when you pass that plate, it's more than just it's a symbol. Like a lot of the things we do in the church, it's a symbol of giving, and so it's something that we should take a little more seriously. When the plate comes by, just take it and hold it and look at it, you know, and do that. But that was a kind of a symbol for us, and I know Trish and I talked about this a lot whenever we decided to switch over to online giving. You know, you need to put some stuff in the plate, you know, and if nothing else, just a decoy for somebody else to say, oh yeah, you know, have a decoy in the plate, so people will see it. The plate is a very symbolic thing, and we tend to overlook that now. I heard a sermon during the annual stewardship campaign, whatever you want to call it. But the preacher said, when you give, it doesn't necessarily have to be here at this church. Just give somewhere, give and be happy about it. If you don't want to give to this church community or put it in this plate, give it somewhere else. And that opened up my eyes. And he said, also, it should hurt a little bit, and that stuck with me. It should hurt a little bit. And so as I would think about those things, I think about the interest that I have and the habits that I have and the things that I like to do. If I want to go hunting, it's not a big deal for me to go out and spend whatever it is I want to spend to go hunting. Why do I do that with the church? Because sometimes it costs more money than you really want to spend to go do those things, right? It hurts a little bit, but you don't mind that because
you're hunting.
You're going to go do your thing that you like, hunting or fishing, whatever it is. I began to take that approach towards our giving, and so we, every year during the stewardship campaign and the pledge drive, Trish and I have our little, they used to be monthly budget meetings, but they're quarterly now because we get busy and we skip. But during this time, we would always talk about our pledge, and we initially wanted to get to a goal of tithing, and then we would do that. We always try to bump it up a little bit every year because it should hurt a little bit. You should feel it. You should have to make decisions around other things in your life to give to the church or Salvation Army or whatever it is, that you want to give a worthy cause that you want to give your money to, and you should feel it. And you should have to sacrifice something else in your life to give to the church.
And I would add on and ask you if it's been the same for you, but it might have initially hurt, and not in any terrible ways, but it's gotten easier as we've gone along because it's become a practice. It becomes
part of who you are.
Part of who we are and whose we are. It's because it's strengthened our connection with the church and with God, and so now, I hate to say this, people who are listening, but I almost look forward to stewardship campaign because it's a time for self-reflection.
Exactly.
And so I enjoy giving a whole lot more than I used to and so it doesn't hurt like it used to because I'm finding more and more joy, and God's giving me more and more joy through that process.
Yeah. Well, so. I love that you said that.
I think start small. Despite a little bit what we were saying earlier about it hurting, start small, start comfortable, start from a place that you it's not totally scary, but also do it thoughtfully, do it prayerfully, do it meaningfully, and not because that's really what God is hoping for us, is for us to be giving in that joyful way. So it has to start, for me at least, it started small, and then through prayer it grew from there.
So prayer being a really main, a central thing. Yeah,
I think we need to, our society revolves so much around money and how much money it takes to just survive. We have to buy groceries and gas and all that stuff, and so we get a little bit scared when we think about not having enough money for those things that we need to do to survive. So when it comes to giving part of your money away to the church or to God, basically, we need to trust that God's going to take care of us in return. That prayerful attitude and trust and faith that the Lord's going to provide for you is a big part of that. So I think a lot of people forget that because they're so worried about having enough money left over to buy their groceries. You know, the Lord is going to provide, and that trust and faith, I think, is a big part of it. And that's a toughie. I'm not saying it like it's easy. You know,
It's a timely.
it's a toughie.
Yeah.
You know, and now, you know, stuff's going up, and it's just tough. And so we just need to be very prayerful about that. And,
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere.